Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Yolanda Melody. Today we're going to be talking about the ego. I'm going to be talking about what the spiritual community as a collective believe the ego is, and then I'm going to be talking about my own theory. I'm also going to be discussing how the spiritual community actually demonize the ego and how this can actually be detrimental. If this is the first video that you're watching about the ego, I hope that I can give you a healthy way of looking at it, and this may also open your mind up to some brand new perspectives that you may not have ever heard of before. Okay, so first things first, what is the ego? Your ego is your sense of self. It's what separates you from everybody else. It's compiled of all of the attachments that you have to your identity. It's essentially the eyes that you're looking through, the perspective that you have, and like with everything, all the good things that come with it must also come with the bad. The fact that we all have an ego enables us to feel earthly pleasures in a heightened way. The ego is responsible for the feelings of euphoria when you get things that you want. Everyone's ego is a unique compilation of your belief systems, the things that you like, the things that you don't like, your personal preferences, who you believe you are. For example, my ego identifies as a spiritual person, but I also like clothes, makeup, drum and bass, cats. But I also understand that underneath all of that, my ego is just a character that I'm playing in this life. I believe that when we die, we don't just disappear into darkness. I believe that our soul goes somewhere else, whether it be reincarnation or otherwise, but the thing that is left behind is the ego. Here's an exercise that I did that helped me to gain this perspective. Ask yourself this: if you were missing one of your arms, would you still be you? Obviously, the answer to that is gonna be yeah, like of course I'd still be me. I don't want to get too gross and graphic with this, but just stay with me, right? So imagine if you were just half of your body and you didn't have the lower part of your body. Would you still be you? Okay, so now we're starting to establish that we are not our body. If you are still you without half of your body, then what are you? When you really look deep into it, you start to realize that it doesn't quite feel like you are just a brain. Like there's something else there. It's almost as if you are something else that is controlling the brain. And this is where we're able to distinguish the difference between the ego and the soul. Because the ego, essentially, is developed within the brain. All of the things that we've experienced from birth up until now is what's caused us to be this character, almost. Another way to look at it, imagine life is a video game. I believe that when you entered this life, you chose the character that you were going to play. And I believe that the person or the state of consciousness, if you will, is the controller of the game. Now, when you're playing a video game, you can sometimes get really stuck into it. Say, for example, you're playing Grand Theft Auto and someone hits you in the game. You can sometimes feel like you're in it, like you get so frustrated or like you're shouting at the TV and stuff. But ultimately, when you step back, you realise, oh, I'm just controlling this character, like I'm just playing a game. But when it comes to life, it's a hell of a lot more difficult to separate yourself because you are in this body. And this is when the ego can sometimes be the source of our suffering as well as our enjoyment. Because remember, the enjoyment in a video game is when you really feel like you are in the video game. You're not half watching what's going on, you're paying full attention, and in that moment you are the character. I'm sure you've heard a lot of people say, oh, so-and-so's got a big ego. You know, some people can be so self-absorbed. I feel like I've got a big ego, right? But I feel like I'm able to balance things out with the perspective that deep down I am a soul. And because I'm aware of that, I'm able to see other people's perspectives. I'm able to step out of my ego when I need to. I'm aware that my ego has a lot of desires that are materialistic, selfish. My ego wants fame, admiration, money, designer handbags. But the way that I'm able to distinguish distinguish between my ego and my soul is that your soul is simple and pure. And I also believe that your soul has one purpose. My ego might want all of these things from a selfish point of view, but ultimately my soul wants to help people. When I do that introspection, that's what I feel. I'm hoping that I'm giving you guys a good analogy here, because this is a very difficult subject to articulate. A lot of the people in the spiritual community believe that the ego is bad and that the ego needs to be destroyed. They profess that we are all one, we are all connected, and that the ego is stopping people from achieving enlightenment. And if you've been researching about the ego already, you may have come across the term ego death. And this is the part where I'm gonna just end the video on a cliffhanger because next week I'm going to be talking to you guys about the pitfalls of this concept and what happened when I tried to induce my own ego death. It's potentially going to be a bit of a controversial video, but I think this is so important to discuss before people start going down the rabbit hole. So I'm going to end this video now. If you like this video, please make sure to drop it a like. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss the video that's coming out next week. And yeah, love you, bye.